All right, everyone. This is the Rank and File Bitcoin podcast with my co-host Chris Alaimo. I'm Dom Bay from Proof of Workforce, and this is where we put signal over subs unless we do land that golden endorsement from Jersey Mike's, a Italian cold cut sub. We will put above signal. Alaimo, lots of stuff going on. This Libra coin. Let's kick off with the drama first. Milei, man, working his tail off. I'm talking to Argentinians. They're saying he's starting to earn the trust and the confidence of the people. For once, I think he had like inflation under control for like one of the first measurable segments where there wasn't a rampant run in inflation. If the guy could have just stuck Bitcoin only, but now we hear he tweeted out some random meme coin address, and the Argentinian oversight, some committee is now investigating him for a meme coin pump and dump. For the love of God, Alaimo, why can they not just figure out to roll Bitcoin only?
I think everyone's got to have their journey of shitcoining, unfortunately, being part of it. I know many people just jump right to Bitcoin, and we hope that our politicians can do the same. But, Trump had Trump coin 2 days before inauguration. Milei obviously had his coin. But I think Jack Mallers kind of hit the nail on the head. It shows that El Salvador and what Bukele is doing down there, if they stay the true and narrow path. I know people are arguing, with some of his authoritarian policies or kind of walking back stuff with the IMF loans, but basically he's kind of cut out all the shit coins and went only to Bitcoin. So I still give him props where props are due in regards to that.
It's funny you mentioned that because I read that Milei is going to meet with Trump to try to negotiate some money from the IMF. And the IMF after this is licking their chops, being like, if you thought we forced Bukele to accept some, less than favorable provisions, wait till we throw in Milei. And I would guess if the IMF does work out a deal with Argentina, you're going to see some of the hardest, anti-Bitcoin, anti-digital asset language in whatever deal they make, would just be my guess if they're going to capitalize on this meme coin disaster.
Oh, yeah, for sure. They're going to definitely put provisions for, normally it's including the country's minerals and resources. Argentina is a G20 nation. They've obviously seen hyperinflation at least 5 times in our lives, Dom. And yeah, I mean, definitely Malay's done a lot of good things with cutting out a lot of government waste and stuff like that. But yeah, it just seems he just was getting so close and just has a shitcoin, unfortunately.
Do you think, Alaimo, do you think it's possible that an institution that we may see in this cycle, an institution drop a meme coin? I mean, is it that seem like, are we going to see that level of insanity? Or do you think they're going to stay away and run like a high and tight program?
I mean, I definitely think a large institution will do it, but do we count like USDC, like Goldman Sachs, USDC stablecoin? I know that's more like staying closer to the dollar, but like if you don't think like one perversion of that is just creating, a meme coin themselves, like what's coming this cycle. Once they fully get, granted into like more Bitcoin things, they're going to be like, oh, we're putting our equity on the blockchain. I mean, this was a thing 4 or 5, even 8 years ago, but I guarantee there's going to be corporations that put their stock certificates on the blockchains coming next, on the Solana ecosystem, coming to you, coming to an exchange near you soon.
Well, Samson Mao tweeted the other day, everything that isn't energy money is a meme coin. And then he put ECB, take some notes. So I mean, that's a good point you bring up with the USD. So it's just tough. It's tough to watch, but like you said, everyone goes through it at some point in a cycle. You wish people could just look back and go, God. And Milei probably following some footsteps like, oh, Trump did a meme coin. This is going to be easy. Well, not so much. So that's pretty wild, but I don't know. It's a bummer to see good things happening in that country and for it to get derailed. Like they say, it takes a long time to build a reputation. It takes one bad step to ruin it. So hopefully all the good work being done down there isn't for naught.
Yeah. What did Trump say in Nashville, Dom? What was one of his key phrases? Just give me some few that you remember from his talks down in 2024 in Nashville.
He said, let's see, what did he say? He did say he was going to free Ross. He said, I'm going to free Ross. We're going to free Ross. He'll walk free, which happened. He said, you're going to get so much electricity. you're going to have so much electricity for mining that you're going to say, no, stop, no more electricity. You're going to have tons. You're going to have plenty of electricity. And then he also started talking about Israel. That's when the crowd got pretty quiet. Like everyone was like, all right, dude, back to Bitcoin stuff. But I don't know. What are you pointing towards?
He was saying we're going to mine all the Bitcoin in the United States. Well, it's kind of hard to mine the Bitcoin without the miners. So breaking news, I guess last week, U.S. Customs and Border Protection agents were saying that they were cracking down on Asian ASIC miners. When you know the ASIC market, or if you're a Bitcoin miner, basically there's two companies that run the ASIC market. It's Bitmain and MicroBT are two companies out of China. But it seems that the U.S. Border and Customs Patrol, U.S. Customs and Border Patrol are seizing Bitcoin miners or ASICs. So, while they're not letting them go to the direct people that are buying them, it seems that the U.S. government might be confiscating them. Obviously, if you want to put your tinfoil hat on and say the U.S. government's confiscating them and then, using public utilities to mine Bitcoin, I mean, I wouldn't say that's a step too far, but it's definitely very interesting. Also, I believe Can is a miner, CANAAN. They're a French company, I believe. But when you really look at the two big power players, it's MicroBT and Bitmain are the two main competitors, and those are the ones that they're confiscating right now. So, yeah, it's definitely something that we want to track and look at going forward. Obviously, Trump was trying to put 10% tariffs to China. He also had 30% tariffs of Canada and Mexico, but he's holding off those for a month unless Canada and Mexico fall in line with border protection. But it seems like China, they're going full steam ahead. Back in my fiat job, we're also seeing raw materials and chemical compounds. China is pushing back by saying, hey, we're not allowing export directly to the United States. So the United States now has to buy them instead directly to China, but through other subsidiaries. In doing so, that means that prices are going up in these raw materials. That's what I'm just seeing in the last week or two. So, it's a little bit of push and pull in these tariff wars. Hey, we're increasing the tariffs on their imports into our country. They're, blocking us by not allowing exports directly to the United States. So I definitely think there's going to be a lot of brokerages and warehouses. We're basically breaking supply chains that are going to have to be intermediaries or basically holding areas to broker trade between China and the U.S. There is a famous saying that when goods stop exchanging across country lines, normally troops follow. I would hate, I say this very seriously, I would hate to see U.S. and China get into a very much a hot war. Obviously, it's kind of like a cold trade war right now, but I would hate to see the two largest powerhouses, excluding Russia, go to war with each other. It would not be good for our populations and just the world in general.
Yeah, man. No. Hopefully that doesn't occur. It brings up a lot of cool things that are happening as far as, you mentioned the hardware behind mining, and it's going to be interesting to watch what comes out of the US if that is a true intent of the White House for mining to be homegrown here in the US. Obviously the capability is there, but it'll be interesting to watch that develop. And then you have this whole concept of, I mean, I know last week, I think a bid axe hit another solo block, and yep. It's it's not impactful, and people will watch us talking about people running bid axes and laugh and go, there's no way it'll compete with, it's mentioning that as any kind of hash contributor is laughable until right, the numbers start going heavy and you have a lot of people doing more solo mining, which hopefully we can get to, because obviously it adds to the decentralization. Hey, for the listeners here, I will drop a little bit of alpha here. I'm just going to drop this, Alaimo, because we can do that. You're on the board of a Proof of Workforce. We're bringing on a special person to be kind of that will be not kind of, they're going to be like a mining technical advisor for Proof of Workforce for our efforts if we want to help give guidance for any, wage earners or workers that are going to mine. And his name is none other than Tatum Turnup. And so this is like, boom, don't sleep on Tatum. Don't sleep on Proof of Workforce. Expect us, because there's some folks that want to mine out there. So I know we got some cool stuff in the works that we're working on as far as, hobby mining and decentralized mining from like everyday workers and stuff. But I thought I'd just like put that out there right there.
Our boy Tatum, love to see it. in other news, not good news. So Tatum's the good news. The bad news is the UK is cracking down on Apple. So, not saying you have to love or hate Apple anyway, but the UK orders Apple to put a backdoor into their iCloud encryption services. So it's funny. UK is always like advocating for, they're saying that they protect people, workers, everyday people for their privacy concerns. And, they're making very wonky laws with libel and freedom of speech. They're cracking down on that. So like basically they're saying anything on social media can be, you can go to jail for. So they're claiming they're protecting you. But then at the same time, they're not protecting you by they're saying they want a backdoor into encryption stuff. As of right now, Apple has not replied. Many people think it's their lawyers are making the decision not to reply to these claims, or that they're on a gag order from the UK, basically saying like you are not allowed to reply to this. Like almost like when you're being investigated, I would assume by like the FBI, the CIA. A lot of times there's time limits that it's like, hey, you're being investigated and you are not allowed to leak this information. There's an infamous thing that many developers or companies do. It is called a canary. It's called a canary message. Basically, it's on a website. You leave like, hey, we are not being investigated by the FBI, and if they delete that from their website or it's some type of message like that, that basically that means that they're under investigation. So they're not allowed to publicly say it. But if you remove information from a website, that can give like a canary in the coal mine of basically being like, hey, we're being investigated. So Apple has not said anything, but this is kind of chilling in the sense that the UK is asking to backdoor and break encryption. Obviously, if Apple does this for the UK and they put a backdoor in, backdoors are not only just for companies and or governments, that hackers can find ways into this. And, remember the scandal from, what was this, 2014, 2015, when all the celebrities had their like nudes and private photos being leaked on the internet? Like, this is not a good thing to have private backdoor breaking encryption. It breaks your privacy. You cannot speak privately amongst peers and colleagues. It's a bone chilling effect. It basically is the creeping state watching you, investigating you. So, Dom, what are your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, this is scary stuff when you hear about backdoors. I remember it came up where they had someone and they were trying to get Apple to turn over the passcode because the time it would take to break the passcode on that and break the encryption. Hey, privacy matters. It's not a privilege, it's a right. We talk about it on the show all the time. Two people that want to be private about something doesn't mean that they're breaking the law. It doesn't mean that they're bad actors. It just means that they don't want to have to share what they're doing with the rest of the world. And that's a right of any, two peers. So hopefully Apple will hold the line and folks will support that. I know we have a lot of celebrity callers sometimes that call in, which can be tough because we don't know if they're the celebrities or not. It's another whole thing about a backdoor. But like on this topic with Apple, I do sometimes wish that we would have a celebrity caller or someone that was like well known in the space that maybe had good intel.
Hey Dom, hey Chris. Someone's calling in right now claiming to be RFK and they wanna weigh in. Put him through?
I mean, I think he's not really huge tech guy. Isn't he the food? Like he's the FD. What's his
Health Specialist of America.
I guess, yeah, sure. We'll see what he said. Hey, Dom and Chris Alaimo, huge fans of Rank and File. You guys are doing a great job. I know heard you're talking about Apple. The problem with apples in the US is they're using hormones, and the hormones are really impacting people. And if we don't get our farmers realigned with the incentives, then the apples that we're having, they're going to continue to get our kids sick, and we have to keep our kids healthy. So if you're talking about Apple, just make sure that it's a natural, that they're not using chemicals or spraying things from the airplane, the pesticides. And you guys are doing a hell of a job educating people on Bitcoin, and keep up the good work. Great job. Okay. Right. I think Alaimo, I think maybe he was talking about a different Apple, which kind of, I don't think he was talking about the company.
Can't blame him. Apple Day keeps the doctor away.
Yeah.
Tying up the last little thing on the UK asking Apple to break encryption. There's a famous.
Yeah, don't let the RFK call fade you. That's why sometimes I told the production team, like, sometimes we can't do these because we don't know who these people are, and they call us. Now you have someone talking about Apple. We get it. It's, it's like, but come on, man, we're trying to talk about privacy. So yeah, don't let them throw you off.
Now, Tim May, and Eric Hughes were two of the original cypherpunks back from the '90s. Eric Hughes wrote something called the Cypherpunk Manifesto, and there's a great line in there: "Privacy is not secrecy. Privacy is just the selective ability to reveal to the world what you want." So basically, as you were saying, Dom, like being private about something is not doing something illegal or nefarious. It's just two individuals interacting and basically choosing what they selectively want to the world. So yeah, next story if you want to hit it.
Yeah, let's tie in real quick on a lot of people posting about CalSTRS, which is the California Teachers Pension Fund, and they saw in a 13F filing that they boosted their shares of Strategy to $82.8 million dollars in Strategy, which is obviously formerly MicroStrategy and the largest holder of Bitcoin pretty much in the country. And then CalPERS boosted their holdings to 76.7 million. I ran some numbers for our listeners. CalPERS, a $500 billion pension fund, Strategy represents 0.01534% of their portfolio. So 0.01 of a percent, very small, but they're boosting the position. So a lot of people are excited about it. And obviously, in that boardroom discussion, they have to be discussing the fact, if they're discussing it at all, unless it's automated, just a little, adjustment that kind of kicks in automatically, that they did boost their position in the largest Bitcoin holder in the United States. The numbers for CalSTRS, $352.9 billion. That's the teachers pension fund. And their allocation was double almost CalPERS, so 0.02346%. Both of those are funded at around 75%, meaning that they have in assets 75% of the funds compared to their total 100% liability. So they're short. And with that comes a cost to the cities in unfunded liability payments. And there's some cost to the pension fund as well. But that was going around, and I know a lot of people were excited about that. They hold it on the books, so they have for quite some time. I know CalPERS used to hold Riot, the mining company, but I think they sold. Just obviously for the listeners, when you look at the percentages, Chris, like it's not as meaningful to them. Probably there's just some balancing things, and it's just another company on a list that they're going to diversify and add to their portfolio.
Yeah, I know you have your boy Michael Saylor on speed dial, Dom. I don't agree with the renaming. I thought MicroStrategy was a much better name. Changing to strategies, I don't know. It just seems very bland, but I don't know what your thoughts on that are.
Well, that's kind of troublesome because I renamed the Rank and File Bitcoin podcast to just File. Is that bad?
I don't know. I mean, I could deal with that.
The trademark stuff is all in. The patent office has gotten back. Was that bad?
Nah, it's just chopping off. Maybe if you wanted to go MacroStrategy, but then that'd be funny, like making fun of Microsoft.
The only one who can do that rebrand is New Jersey by just going straight up Jersey. Drop the new and just go Jersey.
I would agree with that. So.
Yeah. I agree with you. MicroStrategy had that vintage classic aspect to it. That being said, I think that's something that they wanted to shake. MicroStrategy having its origins in something completely separate and outside of Bitcoin. And obviously, Bitcoin now has come to dominate the ethos of the company and why they exist. So I understand the name change of, hey, MicroStrategy was a software company that was started in the 90s, late 80s, 90s, and was completely separate from Bitcoin. And now you have Bitcoin forming, the foundation of what the company represents and all that. So I can see that. Hey, it'll just make the MicroStrategy collectible t-shirts now are going to go through the roof. So if you can find an old school MicroStrategy Sailor plane card or some collectibles, I'm sure those will go through the roof.
I just want to say Michael Saylor is definitely short Bitcoin because he has all these fucking domain names of Michael.com, Hope.com, Strategy.com. He's got all these classic domain names, but good for him. Props to them.
Speaking of merch, did you get your Silk Road sweatshirt when you got back? Your
I did. It's sick. I don't have it on right now, obviously, but yeah, no, it's very clean. Obviously Jack Mallers was and Strike were making those, and all the proceeds less the costs were going to Ross. I know at the time, this was a few weeks ago, they were up to $300,000 in sales, which is
huge.
awesome. It's huge. I think it was even more than that at the time that they started shipping things. But
Yeah.
glad our boy Ross is freed. I hope he lays low, enjoys hanging out with his wife, his parents, his siblings, and kind of getting to, he missed out on 11 years of his life, unfortunately, prime years of his life. So I hope he just gets to enjoy it. I agree with Matt Odell. Some people are like, we want Ross to start a new business or do something. I was like, dude, let him enjoy life for at least 6 months, a year, or however long he wants. But yeah, there's no reason for him to get back into it. He just wants to enjoy his freedom while he can.
I have no doubts that Ross is going to re-enter the space on his own terms. He has a mind that's obviously right. Like, he's innovative, right? Regardless of what you feel about the Silk Road. So the minds like that, I'm sure it's not like, as much as he wants to just sit back and kind of just enjoy the rest of his life, I'm sure he's going to be driven to create and build. Whether that happens in the Bitcoin ecosystem, maybe he'll make some other, something else. It'll be interesting, but obviously, hopefully he's involved maybe on his own terms in the future in Bitcoin, because having people with the perspective of being in this industry a long time and also being innovative, that's the whole reason. One of the main reasons I got involved in this space was because those people were working on the thing that I was holding. So another thing that was really awesome, I just thought it was cool that Strike didn't even brand that sweatshirt. There's no Strike, there's nothing on Strike there, which was cool. That they made this sweatshirt, that the proceeds went to Ross, and then on the sweatshirt you can't even find one Strike logo or branding on there. So really cool, their intention, and just like sticking to, raising the money for Ross and dropping some dope street merch, man. I mean, that thing's been getting some mileage for me. So we're kind of at our, like, we're pushing the envelope of the 20-minute break for the worker. There's probably workers and wage earners out there that are like, dude, I got 1 foot back in the door. My time card, if I don't punch it right now, they're going to hit me for time card fraud. Like, I only will leave folks with, I know you saw a lot of, the account known as Plan B posted, hey guys, I've gotten rid of all my Bitcoin in self-custody and moved 100% to the ETF. Some people were talking about that, regardless of the reason, personally, if that's true or not, there was a lot of discussion about ETF versus self-custody. So I will just say, again, self-custody, learn it. And whether you make a decision or not, do so by learning self-custody and at least holding it at some point, because there's something really special about the autonomy and sovereignty of having in your control the thing which preserves the value of your time, and not having another party, able to mess that up. Obviously, the ETF's pretty secure. We don't speak badly of them. They serve a lot of people well. At the end of the day, there is a third party that is doing your Bitcoin holding for you. Whether they make a mistake or not, only time will tell. But don't make the decision without having never learned self-custody. That's kind of like my wrap-up point for the folks out there.
Yeah, and I got one wrap-up point real quick. So the Tornado Cash,
he's gonna get a Tornado Cash.
I
knew he's gonna get it.
The Tornado Cash developer update. So Roman Storm is petitioning the U.S. Supreme Court to block an order requiring him to reveal his defense strategy to the government. So Roman Storms and Alexei Pertsov were the two developers. We've talked about Roman a bunch. But basically, in October, a judge ordered him and the prosecution to disclose their expert witness statements ahead of the trial request to the government, which the defense described as unprecedented, and this basically destroys their whole defense. They have to reveal way ahead of time. The prosecution can get ahead. They can, interview the witnesses that they're going to use, and basically they're like, this is ridiculous. Like, we're basically fighting with both our hands tied behind our back. Alexei Pertsev is released from pretrial detention on Friday in the Netherlands. So Alexei was picked up in the Netherlands. Roman Storm was picked up in the U.S. Roman, I believe, has been obviously had his passport confiscated, but he's been out of jail and being able to make his defense, where Alexei Pertsov has been in jail for the better part of 2 years and basically was just released on Friday under the conditions of electronic monitoring. Pertsev was sentenced to 64 months in Netherlands for writing open source privacy code for Ethereum last year. His defense has filed an appeal. So obviously I'll keep you updated on the Tornado Cash, Samurai wallet, and Bitcoin fog cases as they get updated through the week. So sorry to hold you there, Dom. If there's anything you want to add before we wrap here.
No, that's it. Alaimo, always reliable for the privacy tool update and happenings from around the world. So we knew the tornado was coming at some point in the episode. We just didn't know when. And here at the end, it's here. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Again, we're really trying to put signal over subs. But if you can sub, that's also great because we need subs. Chris Alaimo's from New Jersey. He's Italian. He loves subs. He thinks about subs very often, and he often called me from Hong Kong saying that, there weren't a lot of subs there and that emotionally it had an impact on him. And so, continue to spread the word, but thanks for joining us, and we'll be back ASAP. Last thing for those that stick around, we announced last week, Proof of Workforce announced that the first law enforcement association in the country added Bitcoin to the balance sheet. Well, within 48 hours, the second followed. So we'll have more on that soon. Pretty cool. And workers everywhere are continuing to find Bitcoin. So keep spreading the word. Keep teaching people about Bitcoin. Your immediate world depends on you to find Bitcoin. Help them, and don't leave them behind as Bitcoin moves forward into the next 5, 10, 20, 30 years.